Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another AskDrKurt podcast. Today, we're doing something new. We're starting a new kind of series. I get a lot of questions running a medical clinic here at Bluestone Health Group. It's the name of my clinic. And today, we're going to cover a bunch of them. We're going to cover Ozempic. And we're going to cover this a little differently. There's a million podcasts, maybe not a million, but a solid 20 or 30 you could find that would totally break down how GLP-1 agonists work, what they're doing, are they good, are they bad, the science behind them. There's a bunch of those, so we're not going to cover that. We're going to cover what we see in the office, how it's impacting body comp, and are they a good thing, bad thing, a cheat code? What are some of the side effects we've seen so far? Because, there's a lot of people talking about long-term things with these. I don't know. I haven't seen them. So we're really going to talk about what we see in the office when it comes to Ozempic. We're going to talk about pre-pregnancy planning. What does that look like? What types of diets work? More importantly, what type of nutrition are you doing? Micronutrition. We need to make sure the woman has enough of certain nutrients that are going to make the baby grow faster, that are going to excel the baby's brain, which of course we want to support the baby's brain and development at all steps along the way. So we're going to cover that. We got some, as one person put it, fake news health claims, or I would more like to say media and big pharma complex, at best misrepresentations, at worst maliciousness to keep people sick and to sell drugs. So we're going to cover two big ones that are kind of being dismantled on social media at the moment. Hence the Ask Me Anything section of this is they're becoming a bit more popular. A lot more people are touching in or weighing in on the subjects. And one that I may release I wrote a big in-depth study or paper on this years ago, but vegetarians versus omnivores, what's the best diet? And we'll kind of touch on some of the big key points in that and how it relates to, I wrote an article in terms of performance, and I'll kind of touch on some of the highlights of that, but that gets interesting as well. And then we got some supplement trends. Creatine, that's the big one lately. And I'm going to talk about how and what to expect when taking these. Again, I'm not here to dive into the deep science. You all can deep dive YouTube and different podcasts and different things and really get all the nitty gritty science, which personally I find a little boring. I mean, I like reading some of the stuff, but when it comes to applicability, how is this going to impact the clients walking in the door and the people I see? Sometimes not much, sometimes a little bit, and sometimes not anywhere. Sometimes it's the diametrically opposite of what the people want or what they're trying to get out of it. But yet the health claims are, the selling claims on social media are really driving a certain, not agenda, but certain kind of feel. So we're going to be covering creatine, electrolytes, kind of the hype up of all the new electrolyte drinks, and collagen, which has been around for a while. Not quite as popular as it used to be, but still there. All right. So the first Ask Me Anything podcast. If people like these, we'll keep doing them. I think they're interesting. I think they kind of touch on a lot of the social media trends, so we can at least get some applicable info. What's it going to do for you? And just so you all know, I am in the Northeast. I'm in Connecticut. So sometimes that plays a role into what's going on patient-base wise, sometimes not. So just so you all know. All right. So here we start. Ozempic. Well, very, very popular. And I will say the one big thing we see with Ozempic is that it does work. When you lower calories, it does work. Now we need to talk about what are some of the negatives, or not even so much negatives as what's it doing to the body. So when your body goes into a starvation mode, yes, you're going to lose mass. What is the mass that you're losing? Well, this has been talked about already. A lot of bone mass, a lot of muscle mass, and some fat mass. What does that mean? We have a saying here, and I like to educate people on this when they come in for our personalized consults. Stress eats muscle. So when you're losing muscle taking a weight loss drug, what does that mean? It means it's very stressful. You're losing stress weight. It is not a healthy way to lose weight. Hence, a lot of the talk about being on it for a long term is when you go off of it, you need to, or you will be gaining more weight. Well, part of that's stress, because what's your body going to do if it's losing muscle? It's going to try to gain muscle back. And what does that mean? Stress eats muscle. It means your body's locked in sugar burning mode, stress mode. When your body's stressed, it burns sugar and preserves fat. So it's not burning fat. So that's a very, very stressful way to lose weight. It's equivalent to being locked in, stuck on a desert island. You're starving. Your body is going to waste away. Hence, what we call Ozempic face. When the cheeks start to suck in and they draw, that's a highly stressful circumstance. And I want some of you to think, when is the last time you saw that? What type of people used to lose a lot of weight really quickly and have their face draw in a little bit? Cancer patients. Because cancer is a highly aggressive disease that eats away the body. It's highly stressful. It eats away muscle. The sinking in and losing of cheek fat is not a healthy way to lose weight. So definitely anyone taking Ozempic, seeing the cheeks start to draw, and it is time to readdress and probably start fixing your stress problem, fixing the adrenal glands, fixing a lot of other things. So that is kind of my key, is it will help people lose weight. It's not a healthy way to lose weight. It's very fast, very aggressive to the body. And anytime you lose bone and muscle, even a little bit, that's a huge, huge deal. And we need to ask, what are we doing? And is it even worth it? Are the long-term, are the health outcomes long-term even worth the short-term or the very, very fast weight loss? Sometimes not. Then again, I guess there seems to be, I haven't seen too many of these people, some people it might be helping a lot. We don't know. But from the few people we've seen come in and we have actual data on them, it has been a high loss of muscle, more than we could say with, traditional fat loss or the fat loss we do here at my office. We're doing customized biochemistry. We're really balancing the total body, personalized. But it's one of those that we need to maybe pause and think, is there a better option? Because if anti-aging and looking good for as long as possible is your goal, we might need to rethink that. All right, next, pre-pregnancy nutrition. This is an interesting one because we know there's a few nutrients the woman needs before getting into her personalized nutrition. Most of the time we'd run the person's own numbers and we'd have a completely custom plan for them, pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, wherever they're at, in their life. But as a general sense, we definitely need omega-3s. We need lots of omega-3s. And a lot of times if someone's really planning, we'll high dose omega-3s for a while to kind of saturate their tissues, start cleaning out some of those bad fats, and eventually even move into a high DHA supplement so they don't have to take quite as many fish oil caps, and we're getting a higher dose of DHA, which is the brain omega, the one that's great. We need a lot of omega-3s to help this baby's brain develop. Next, we would do iodine. And iodine, interesting, when you really dive into iodine, pregnant mothers and lactating mothers are the two groups of people that require the most iodine. And this is the RDA, which we know is grossly deficient in most cases. And this is what they're recommending is not an iodine sufficient dosing. It's an iodine RDA dosing, which is still much higher than the general population. But yet how many doctors, OBGYNs or other doctors helping manage pregnancies are recommending iodine? We need iodine. Thyroid hormone is one of the most important hormones when it comes to a developing baby's brain. So we need optimal thyroid. So that it goes one step further. If we're kind of really personalizing a plan, we need to run thyroid numbers and we need to maximize your thyroid. If you want to look more into that, check out some of our other podcasts, which we've really been deep diving thyroid. Next, we need minerals, of course. If you're iron deficient or magnesium or other things, of course we need to cover those. So that's pretty much a given. Generally speaking, a really quality multivitamin with iron, a woman's multi, will do great. And we need extra B vitamins. So folic acid gets all the hype, but we need methylated Bs. We're not taking anything synthetic. Synthetic Bs don't work out. Hence, all the hype with Celsius and why it's bad is they're using synthetics. We're smart enough and have enough research and quality products out there that we should not be using synthetic B vitamins. And we need lots of D3. Great. So the big four that we cover with pre-pregnancy nutrition is iodine/thyroid, omega-3s, vitamin D, and iron, making sure we get those covered. Now, of course, it goes a little bit further if we need to cover other things and personalize it. But when it comes to those are anyone can take. We don't necessarily need to be running bloods and doing a lot of things at smaller doses of things. And so, B vitamins being the fourth. Iron and B vitamins they can be combined or sometimes separate. But we need to cover those things. Folate and B vitamins are well known. Omegas are pretty well known. Vitamin D is pretty common, but I don't hear a lot of OBGYNs or other pre-pregnancy people recommending it on mass scale. And iodine, I never hear anyone mentioning iodine when it comes to pregnancy planning. All right. Next, we are on to our fake news, or what I like to call the media pharmacy complex stories. Salt and high blood pressure. This is interesting because it is starting to get torn apart a little bit, and I think that's why it's on the AMA section or AMA podcast today. Is we use a lot of salt. Salt regulates fluid. So when it comes to high blood pressure, I think the numbers are 10% of people with high blood pressure are salt sensitive. So that's not very many people if we think about the numbers. But yet we've been given this recipe, this blanket medical treatment of avoiding all salt. Don't eat salt. Never eat salt. What's interesting, what happens when you go to the hospital with really high life-critical high blood pressure? They give you a saline drip. Salt water. They pump salt water into your body. Why? Well, your body needs salt. Salt is what regulates fluid balance. Your body doesn't regulate water. The kidneys regulate salt. They regulate sodium. So if we don't have enough sodium or a constant intake of quality sodium, our body doesn't know what to do. So it's increasing blood pressure, it's increasing heart rate, it's not managing very well. So one way we get around this and really help the body is we give it a little bit of sea salt every morning. So that way we almost think of it like a supplement. We're supplementing salt every morning, and it helps people hydrate. It helps people increase their water intake and really balance out, going to the bathroom all the time and feeling really good. We see it clinically when we run numbers. We see their hydration markers improve. So salt is very important. The avoiding of salt is crumbling. Of course, like I always mention, there's other guys deep diving this science, to the nth degree. It's going to be hard to even follow because it does get mind-numbingly boring after a while. But clinically speaking, I haven't met too many people where we have to restrict salt. I see almost every person coming in needs to add salt. And we confirm that with blood testing and other body comp testing. Next is red meat. Is it good, bad? Is it going to kill you? The answer is it's not going to kill you. The answer is we need all the things in red meat. I recommend red meat mostly for low iron. We see a ton of people with low iron. Women, it's rare to find a woman with sufficient ideal iron. That's on the rarer side here. But red meat is a quality issue. We need to be hunting for the best quality red meat, grass-fed. And when we see that, there's a study years ago where they compared grass-fed meat to conventional feedlot beef, and they found the grass-fed beef was anti-cancer when it came to the omega-3 ratio to omega-6, versus the conventional beef was pro-cancer because it was so inflammatory. So with red meat, it isn't, are we consuming it and is it bad? It is, are we consuming good quality with all the vitamins and nutrients and things that we need, that our body needs? It's the best source of iron that we can get, among other nutrients. It's the best source for a lot of things, but iron it might be the best source. Next, a lot of people say, well, what about spinach? Spinach has tons of iron. Well, this kind of goes into our next omnivore versus vegetarian debate, but spinach iron is not absorbable. It's not, we can't digest the iron in spinach and convert it into iron we need in our body. We are not herbivores. That would be something an herbivore, or like, for example, a cow could do. They could take spinach, they can take greens, digest them to a point to absorb those minerals. We don't have the digestive tract to absorb spinach and get a significant amount of iron out of it. Yes, it has more iron by weight, but it's not absorbable. It's undigestible. So when it comes to omnivores versus vegetarians, as humans have a nearly identical digestive tract to carnivores. Minus a few teeth, everything about our digestive system from mouth to end is similar to a carnivore. It is dissimilar, or not similar at all, to an herbivore. And we've known this for forever, basically. So it's a really interesting, pharma medical complex dynamic that we're pushing plant-based when we don't digest plants as well as we digest meat. And carnivores have a smaller digestive tract because when you eat meat, it's concentrated nutrients. It's kind of like taking a vitamin. Versus plants, you have to really break them down. You have to break into the cell walls. You have to absorb and assimilate all those nutrients versus having them near body ready in meat. So it's one of those things where we really have to play out what the human body is designed to do. And we're not designed to spend our extended periods of our day digesting. We are going to digest slowly, but it's an interesting dynamic. So for everyone out there, plants aren't necessarily bad. We do need some. They help with digestion, in certain ways. And think of carnivores, your dog, your cat. They eat vegetables and grass and things here and there. But our digestive system is nearly identical to a carnivore. And we need to always keep that in mind, especially when we're sick and when things are going a little awry in the body. We may need to go more towards that side of the equation, that higher protein side, to help our body heal, to take some stress off of the digestion. And when it comes to performance, it's interesting. When I was reading it, I read a lot of these kind of pro-vegetarian articles. And when we really deep dive some of the numbers, it was the conclusions of some of these studies were, there's no difference. We see no performance changes. And then when you looked at some of the numbers, you started seeing very identifiable blood changes. So one of them, I think, was 3 months, one was 6 months. So when you looked at this, when they looked at the blood markers were very clearly showing signs of deficit in the vegetarian group versus the omnivores group. The thing that hadn't quite changed yet was a significant change in power output. So these were weightlifting and different power style articles. That's what they were testing. That's what they were comparing. They weren't necessarily comparing the blood markers. So it was really interesting to see when you look at it from a blood perspective, you could see the blood markers starting to change in a negative way. But it took longer. It took 9 months, a year, even maybe a little longer sometimes before the power output started to change. But I would argue when the power outputs start to change, we're in real trouble. That's a long-term change. And that's similar to kind of the Ozempic craze, is that power outputs, those changes, those physical changes that are starting to happen. By the time you see them on the outside, we've had massive change on the inside. All right. I hope this is informative for people. We have a couple more. We'll kind of rattle these off quickly. We have supplement trends, creatine. So yes, creatine is great. It's beneficial for women, yes. It makes your brain feel good. I do want to point out some numbers because right now it's really getting a lot of oomph. And I always tell people, it seems like every 8 years or so, a lot of supplements kind of recycle back into the market, and people feel good from it. They pump a ton of money into marketing it. They sell it out, and then it kind of fades away for a long time, and then it kind of swings back in. Collagen being one, electrolytes being one, creatine. I'm sure many of you weightlifters out there that used creatine in the 90s and 2000s can kind of remember all the different forms of creatine popping up every about 8 years or so. You kind of see a new one pop up, and they really market it to death. But creatine, so if you want to know the science, again, tons of people, you can go search it out. It's all there. It gets a little boring and tedious. I actually wrote my undergrad thesis, I don't know if they call it a thesis, on creatine and hydration. I've been learning and studying creatine for a long time. What we find is, first off, creatine is the energy substrate for the first 3 to 5 seconds of anaerobic exercise. So that means when you're lifting weights, those first couple reps, you're using creatine. So creatine's not this long-lasting thing. It's kind of used a little bit in anaerobics. So then we have to ask, why is it so important? Or why are we feeling it so much now? Why is it kind of hit? Well, because we're all stressed. The anaerobic system is sugar burning. Why are you burning sugar at rest? Why are you burning that much sugar to begin with? Because you're stressed. Your body's eating muscle. So it kind of circles back to a little bit of that system. Next, what happens when you take creatine? Some people feel a little energy. Most people don't. Some people can work out a little bit harder. Some people don't notice that effect. One of the biggest things when it comes to body comp is you are going to gain 3 to 5 or more pounds of water. Some people, not a big deal. If you're working out, if you're a professional athlete or on that scale of things, you probably want the little edge that creatine is going to give. You want that recovery. You want that in-between set recovery. You want that anaerobic kind of boost that you get. And I'm going to tell you the boost is about 5 to 15% in terms of power output in different sports metrics. So it's not a ton, but it could be significant if you really are a high-level athlete. For the client base I see, mostly housewives or, people working in, Fairfield County, Westchester County, New York City, that kind of area. 3 to 5 pounds of extra fluid is a lot. It's a lot of bloat. And most women coming in will not want to take creatine if initially they told them, your brain might feel really good, but you're going to gain 3 to 5 pounds of fluid. I've only had a couple women say yes, and they love it. They love taking it. Their brain feels better. But that was something we chatted about, and they decided they liked the creatine more than they disliked the 3 to 5 pounds of fluid. And over time, your body gets used to it, and it kind of assimilates, and it becomes a part of your body. But initially, it's a lot of fluid weight. So I always tell people, if you're comfortable with 3 to 5 pounds of extra water in your body, your clothes being a little tight, that's okay. But I say a lot of people that come in to see me do not want that. In fact, they're trying to lose a little weight, trying to feel a little better that way. So that's something we need to always address. And we can get a lot of energetic boosts from balancing out biochemistry, from optimizing your brain function, all without things that bloat. So I put creatine lower on my list of subs. We do use it here and there, but for the common person that's not an athlete, and by athlete, I mean 3 hours a day or more of working out, a lot of working out, and relatively low life stress. So you don't have a full-time job if you're a professional athlete, because being a professional athlete is your full-time job. So we need to take that all to account with different things. But creatine, I would say I don't use a lot of it because we can get a really good energy boost, brain function boost, even workout boost, by balancing their own personalized biochemistry first without that blow, and actually lean up while we're doing that. So that's kind of my clinical take on creatine. Electrolytes, we've had a few cases now where people are overdoing electrolytes because they're using them for flavor aids in their water. And what we found is if you're not sweating a ton, we probably don't need a lot of these electrolyte drinks. In fact, we found that Celtic sea salt works better as an electrolyte aid. So that was, something we tested, we got numbers on. So that's cool because that kind of goes back to that salt equation we were talking about earlier. So most people, I'd say, do your first glass of water of the day, sea salt, a saltwater glass of water. Or the first water we drink is salt water for the day, because a lot of you might not have thought of this. You're 55 to 60% water, and that is salt water. That is not flat, fresh water. It's salt water. You are salt water. So we need to fix that a little bit. But we have people start to hold on to a lot of fluid with the electrolytes. So my way is, if you're sweating a ton, sure, maybe a packet a day, but salt ends up being more effective, doing a little bit of salt in the morning. And do not use the electrolytes as a flavor aid. If you need flavor, add flavor. All right. Collagen. Collagen does work. One of the main issue I would say with collagen we see is that if you don't ingest enough protein, total protein for the day for your body weight, and actually usually a little higher than your minimum intake of protein, then the collagen doesn't really do much for your skin, hair, nails, and different things. So collagen is essentially, think of it as an amino acid complex. You need sufficient protein. What I've kind of see a lot of women that take collagen for beauty purposes, many of them aren't eating enough protein or getting enough protein. Therefore, the collagen has minimal effects. So collagen is easy. Yeah, it does great. Of course, we got good brands. We got certain types that hit more skin, certain types that hit other things and joints and different things. But the biggest key with collagen, and then it kind of weighs the question, if you need collagen, is you got to get enough protein, which is a lot, which we have a rule of thumb, 4 meals of protein a day. We don't have to weigh. We don't do other catchy ways of doing it. If you eat 4 meals of protein a day, odds are you're getting enough. All right. Well, I think that concludes it for our AMA this time. I hope it was informative. I think, we'll do it. We'll try doing another one of these, maybe one every couple weeks, hopefully, because this is kind of fun. It doesn't take too much prep work on my end, because these are all things people are talking about in the office. I spend a massive amount of time talking about a lot of these topics every day. So hopefully it all works well. Check out Instagram. We'll send out, more questions, and I think it links to Facebook as well. But until next time, we'll see y'all later. Bye.